So in this video I'm going to be speaking about the soul, the spirit, how many souls and spirits we have, daemons, which in the old days used to be a term used for varieties of spirit, but then was demonized and became demons, you know, with the advent of the Catholic Church and poisonous institutions like that, wanting to demonize absolutely everything outside of their criteria, and then turn everything upside down and make Yahweh or Jehovah into something wonderful when it was actually evil, and turn Satan inside out and make it evil when he was actually beneficial for mankind. So it's all an inversion, people. It's all propaganda. It's all designed to poison your mind. So what we have to do is we have to think for ourselves. Now, in recent times I've been speaking about how I'm convinced that there isn't one soul going on here in the human body, and I've spoken about many writers speaking about varying souls and entities, and if you really wanted to, then you can do the research and you can find out for yourselves what people have been saying throughout millennia. Now, in the West, most people are indoctrinated into considering that human beings only have one soul, and many people in the secular Western world, which is to say atheistic world, don't even believe in the soul, and some philosophers even go as far as to say that consciousness is an illusion, i.e. Daniel Dennett. But my experience is very, very different. I've monitored my own body, mind and brain and viscera for many, many years, and I have encountered many supernatural entities, and I have discerned many varying, fluctuating energy forms within me. Now, we all know that when people do something which is considered by them and others to be out of character, they'll go, I don't know what came over me, I must have been possessed. Or people will say, God damn it, you know, he or she was possessed. We're all possessed, people. We're possessed by many, many spirits or souls. They come and go throughout our lives. They live vicariously through us. And I speak about this and many other subjects in my book, which, for those of you who are still unacquainted, this is my spiritual autobiography, and in here are all of the profound supernatural phenomenological experiences that I've had in varying ways, some spontaneous, others induced through meditation, others induced through entheogens, stroke psychedelics, others induced to varying circumstances which caused a great deal of duress for the body. When this happens, we're likely to have spiritual experiences. I taught myself to leave the body and have experienced many entities in the astral, and so I've learned a great deal firsthand. Now, if you have first-hand information, people, then you most certainly won't be an adherent to only one soul or spirit, because you will have encountered many. And also in this book I speak about negative energy attachments, and I call them gremlins, and I speak extensively how they come, how they go, how you can recognize them in yourselves, and how you can see them in other people. And that is all in here. I speak about the nature of God, the nature of love, the nature of evil, meditation, out-of-body experiences, the dark night of the soul, the hero's journey. I talk about archetypes, I talk about egregores, I talk about a massive amount of stuff. And I find it incredulous, unbelievable, how relatively so few are interested in their own self-exploration. You see, this is about my experiences and many, many other people's experiences, but also it's about your experiences, because we are all fundamentally one. And if you read this book and you were a little bit spiritual and you've had a few experiences in life, then you go, wow, that's what that was, that's what this is, oh my goodness, this book is so helpful, it's so inspiring. And if people are afraid of this sort of stuff, well, you're afraid of yourselves, because there's nothing to be afraid of, because it's all you. So if you are afraid of anything, you're in a delusion of your own detachment. Every single thing you think, do, believe, say, act out, everything is all you. Everything you perceive in the outer world is perceived within you, so it's all you. It's a perspective of yourselves. You have a unique perspective. You are the center of the cosmos, believe it or not, because everything around you, the cosmos, expands out exponentially in every conceivable direction outside of your consciousness. You can look up into the night sky in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, and you can see the cosmos out there, or a fraction of it. But where is that? It's all in your mind. It's all in your visual cortex, isn't it? It's all you. It's all in your dream, people. So, because I have suggested that you see, look, the reason why I made that video yesterday is because I have had many people asking me, when am I going to be speaking about the events that took place in Arizona 3 years ago. And I said, well, I'm not ready for that yet, because those subject matter are massive, and I would have to relive every single day of them, like I relived every single day of this book. In this book there's 250,000 words, and I had to cast my mind back, and I had to enter again into the spirit of what was happening at any given time to bring back that information. And it took me 8 months writing every single day to produce this book. And in this book I actually speak about times when I was incarcerated, but I don't say it. There's a small part of the book which I edited because I thought it was befitting that people did need to know that I was experiencing the devil in isolation in one of these hellhole prisons. When these prisons are holding centres for evil spirits. Mostly. There are some good spirits that made mistakes, and you can very easily discern those if you're a spirited person. But you also discern that there are many very evil people. And some of you may be aware of the photos. If you go online, photos, particularly in American prisons, then 90% of these people are covered from head to toe in tattoos. They're all gang members, or murderers, drug dealers, and despicable people. And I was mixing with all of those. And so I write about my psychology, the psychology of them, the psychology of me and them. I write about the psychology of the whole thing from a psychological, spiritual, soulful experience. And this is why I'm also bold to say that, you know, I don't know whether anybody's going to write a book like I am about prison. I've read many prison books, but they're all the same. They're all from the ego. They all speak from the ego because they're not soulful people, they're not philosophers, they're not psychoanalysts, and so they'll tell you about this guy got shanked and this guy was murdered, and they had fights with the screws, and all these different sorts of stuff, and it's kind of like, it's all sensationalizing. You want to hear about all those sort of things. Well, I don't have a great deal of those sort of stories, because all the places I went to, mostly that never happened. And so, what we have to consider is the places where I went, they were mostly for short-term inmates. And the prison where I served the majority of my time was for people who had less than 5 years. They were on their way out. There were people who had life sentences. There was one guy that I was chatty with. He'd served 26 years for a shootout with the cops. And he'd lost half his fucking skull here, with one of these hollow bullets. But most people are working at getting out. And if they were very, very dangerous people, then they've managed to curb that facet of themselves through many years of being in the toughest of American jails. And don't get me wrong, there's many of them when people are serving high sentences which are exceedingly dangerous. Exceedingly dangerous, and everybody is very, very volatile. And can you imagine if you've got a life sentence, or if you're never getting out, you've got nothing to lose, and you will stamp on someone's head until their head implodes. That's the nature of these places. But fortunately, I wasn't mixing with too many of those, and everybody had a carrot to work towards. And and also the people who were absolutely fucking mental and had committed atrocious crimes wouldn't have been sent to this prison, because it was a pretty much an open prison. We were free to roam around the whole grounds during most of the day, and we were housed in big warehouses which were open, whereas lots of these places you're either in a cage or you're in a cell. Now, I served about 6 months of my sentence in a cell, sometimes on my own, but invariably with one or two other people. And I was locked up for 24 hours a day for a good portion of that. And so there's a whole array of varying complexity which I'm going to be speaking about in the videos. If the sales come through, if the sales don't come through, people, then I won't have the facility to be able to buy the packages that I'm going to need to write the book. And so therefore I will carry a certain level of resentment, which is going to say, well, fuck you. Do you think I'm a fucking idiot? If you aren't prepared to spend £20 on your own education, then yeah, fuck you. And this is why I'm always saying it. I just don't get the mentality. You people are like flies around fucking shit every time I put up a video. And the video I put up yesterday has got 350 hits already. And yet, how many of you have decided that you're going to buy the book? Because if you buy the book, then you look inside my psyche and you see the sort of person that I am, and you will make your own judgment about what happened when I eventually tell the story. And you will judge whether you consider me to be a good person or bad person, along the way. So to learn about this, you learn about my roots, you learn where I came from, and and you'll learn about where I have arrived today with all of my thoughts on the world, what it is to be a human being, with the psyche and the spirit and the soul and the ego and all different sorts of things. Now, for those of you who have forgot, and by the way, I'm always saying this, but 100 of you have bought the book, and only one of you, has had the gumption to come forward and speak about it. And you know what? I haven't even received an email from any of you people just give me a bit of feedback from the book. What parts meant to you, or if none of it meant anything to you, if you thought it was a crock of shit, whatever. I haven't received a single email. And on the original Amazon site, this book is called Closer to God. There has been 10 reviews when people just bought the book and they're all enthusiastic about it, but the enthusiasm quickly waned as people got a few pages through and then they couldn't get through anymore. How many of you haven't actually managed to get through the whole book? How many of you skipped certain chapters because you considered that it wasn't relevant to you? If you are on the spiritual journey, people, every single bit in here is relevant to you, even if it's the bits on psychology or science or certain mythology, religion. It's all absolutely relevant to you, and if you read it, then you'd learn and you'd grow from it. But how many of you have spirits that prevent you from growing? This is an actual thing, people. It's something that actually is taking place every single second of every single day in the vast majority of people. And so if you're educated yourselves about how to recognize these things, then you most certainly grow exponentially. Now, because many people want to know what happened and when are you going to tell your prison stories. Of course, prison stories are, you know, great because they're most certainly out of the public eye, and prisons are very, very dangerous and sinister places, particularly the American prisons. Now, I've been in both. I've been in prison, incarcerated in Britain when I was 20 years old, I think, 20 and 21, for some sort of theft, stroke robbery sort of thing. Me and my friends stole a lot of money, so we got charged with theft, but we were accused as being robbers. And originally I served 14 months. Both myself and my friend, we got out on the first given parole day because we were exemplary prisoners. We officially never got involved in any trouble. We spent most of our time on the education block, bettering ourselves, and we had great family support, and so we were out at the first given opportunity. But initially I got 3.5 years. 3.5 years because there's quite a lot of money involved. So that was quite something. But the second sentence, which I received in Arizona, I got 1 year. And I wouldn't have even got any time at all if I had been a US citizen, because I was told that the crime that I perpetrated was only a misdemeanor. I was charged with a misdemeanor, people, which is the lowest charge you can ever get charged with. And I was told that, first offence, never been in trouble before, because of course they didn't know about my prison record, because it was like 40 years ago, and the record is wiped clean, and it was a completely unrelated offence in any case. So the parole officer in Arizona said, yeah, you tick all the criteria for parole, but the only thing is you're not a resident, so you know I can't say what's going to happen. I just got to leave it down to the judge. Now, when the person involved in my offence became aware of what I'd been charged with, then she kicked up hell with her lawyer and said that I tried to kill her, which was absolutely preposterous, and she still maintains that to this day, because she's delusional and it's absolutely ridiculous. And you know, if I tried to kill her, then I would have been charged with attempted murder and not a misdemeanor. And when the police came round to arrest me, I said, well, what's the extent of her injury? And it was very, very minor. And he just went on it. You know, and so that was that. I'll speak about it, of course, in greater detail on other occasions. But because she kicked up a fuss with her lawyer, then the charge was increased into aggravated assault, which, incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, was dropped on the day of the hearing. On the day of the hearing, the prosecution lawyer and the police, doubtless the police, they reduced the charge again to attempted aggravated assault. And again, she blew up about this in view of how she considered her life had been threatened. Goodness me. Look, sensible people, the courts of America, with all their jurisdiction policies involved, they charged me with a misdemeanor. And then it went up to aggravated assault just to appease her and her lawyer. But on the day of sentencing, the police, lawyers, between them, they reduced it back down to an attempted aggravated assault. Attempted. What they're saying is that I never actually even assaulted her, you know, in an aggravated way, because the symptoms were so minor. That's what the court said, people. That's what the lawyers say. Of course, she's crying, you know, a different story because she's a full-blown narcissist. And everything about her is attention. She wants attention. She's been seeking attention forever, all of her life. Narcissists are very, very disturbed people. Now, by the way, I'm going to be speaking with somebody who's encountered a narcissist in his relationship for many years and has looked into it extensively. This person is very bright and articulate, and so I'm going to be speaking with this person, and some of you will know him, some of you will be very surprised, but we're going to be having a conversation speaking about our encounters with narcissists, so you will start to get the measure of why I spent time in an American penitentiary and jail. Now, the other thing is half of my sentence I was given for breaking the bail conditions, because I broke the bail conditions, and I'll talk about that, because I tried to flee the country, obviously. And so originally they released me on bail after 2 days, and the bail was $500. So obviously I wasn't a big threat to anybody. $500 is the absolute minimum that anyone could release anyone on bail for, and I got that, and I was released. But then because I broke bail, then the police arrested me again, and how they arrested me is very, very sly, and you'll be very, very surprised at the tactics that they're up to and the levels of surveillance that they've got. That's really super interesting in of itself. But then I was charged with breaking the bail conditions, which was equally as serious as the misdemeanor that I perpetrated. And so if I hadn't have broken bail, then I would only have got half the sentence, and if I was an American subject, I wouldn't have even got any sentence. They told me that it's a probationary offence. You see? And so there are, you know, some people out there that consider that, you know, what happened was an abomination, but the vast majority of you people, I know, are sensible people, and you know that when I'm speaking explicitly honestly. There is nothing that I've ever lied about. I don't lie. I don't see the purpose of it. I'm not trying to manipulate anybody in any shape or form, and never have been. I'm telling you all the time, go fuck yourselves. You mean nothing to me, and you know, why would I fucking do this, and why would I bend over backwards to please you? I'm not a people pleaser. I don't give a fuck about pleasing people, so anything I'm going to be saying, you know, is coming from the heart. And because you know I've got a very good memory, then the chances are all I am going to be reciting is explicitly what happened. And so, any of you that have read this book, you will know about the fine detail that I speak about. So yeah, and of course 6 weeks of my further incarceration I spent in the immigration facility waiting to be deported. And so you know, it was quite something, and I visited 7 of these institutions as I was getting shipped around through the system, whilst they was working out, you know, what to do with me, where to put me, and because, you know, ultimately I was going to be deported, and so because I tried to flee the country after my initial arrest, then they couldn't give me bail, of course, again, and so I went to a kangaroo trial, and I only got to see my defense lawyer for 20 minutes in 4.5 months. He wouldn't return my calls. You can make calls from inside the prison block. He wouldn't return my calls. He considered from reading the depositions about me that I was a terrible person, and I didn't deserve any real defense, and so on the day when I actually did get 20 minutes to talk to him, he changed his mind, and he told me that he'd made a mistake about me, and now he sees that I'm a genuine, honest and decent person who got into a bit of a sticky situation and made a mistake. And so then when he came to court, he was actually doing his job of defending me, but he was rubbish. He was a public prosecution counsel, and they're chocolate teapots, and they're not about to spend any money on your trial. So basically you just have to accept all charges, otherwise you hang around in county jail for up to 2 years. They can hold you for 2 years in the hellhole of county jail, and I was celled up with people who had been in almost that amount of time fighting their case, and I'm thinking to myself, I ain't fighting my case. I could go to trial and I could have a jury, but I can't call on any information. I can't call on any witness because I can't speak to anybody, you see. And that's the thing. You only have very, very limited resources, and all the time I had to speak to somebody, of course, I needed to use that up speaking to my daughter, which was exceedingly important. So I couldn't call on any witnesses, I couldn't call on any evidence, and so I was fucked, where she could call on anything and have all different sorts of people writing wonderful reports about her, and you know, all these different sorts of things. And she even hired a private detective, would you believe, to dig up the dirt on me. For 4 months she paid a private detective $1,000 a month to find absolutely anything about me, but they came up with nothing, absolute zero, because there was nothing. And the only person she got to go to court with her, out of all of her so-called friends, which she doesn't have, by the way, she doesn't have any friends, trust me people, was a paid person, someone on wages. That's the only person that she got to support her in court. And so that also is very, very telling. So I've got a fantastic story to tell, and I'm going to be speaking about all of the whole prison thing in the finest of detail, and all through the courts and all through all the institutions, and it's going to take a long, long time. It's going to take many videos. So if you purchase this book to make that happen, then your £20 or $20 even, you know, it's only, I think it's $20 in America, but then you'll be privy to, I would think, in excess of 100 videos. So you make your own decisions about that, people. And so I have written about certain facets of that when I was in these places, and how I was you know, emotionally and psychologically and spiritually compromised, how I had a communication with a high entity, call it God, call it Yahweh, Jehovah, Christian God, how I was compromised by very, very negative, evil forces, giving me the option of continuing life or not. You get broached by things like this, people, because in these institutions, this is where these spirits reside. Many people will head towards Jesus. That's a classic thing, particularly with Mexican people. They have a thing with Jesus. It's completely hypocritical, of course, because most of them are murdering, drug dealing, abominations, but whilst they're in incarceration, they start to try to have a relationship with Jesus. But the obverse to that is that they will be compromised by, demonic energy forms, because they come to pray, they come to feed, and many people lose their lives. Many people get involved in very, very dangerous situations because of the evil attachments that they have. Mostly unbeknownst to them. So I'm going to be reading from this book. In the table of contents, people, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 and a bit table of contents, and you see that each individual content, there are 30 on a page, so there's 350 separate sections pertaining to a whole myriad of subject matter. So I'll read a few of these. The preface starts displaying my early years, and because this book depicts how I was along this whole spiritual journey, getting shot in Africa, and being deceived out of many thousands of dollars in different countries, then the incarceration and everything, and near-death experiences. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So if anyone likes a good thriller, then they must certainly love this book. So an unfortunate childhood led towards an auspicious adulthood. Your life in their hands. Becoming aware of the rot setting in. Experiencing the numbness of my life. Seeking that elusive inner peace. The rising of the phoenix. Something had seriously gone wrong. The long road to egoic reconstruction and spiritual development. Shockingly, I realised that I too am an automaton. Intro into the central theme of my journey, the dark night of the soul, what it means and how to deal with it. The need to press forward, leaving the past behind. No consolation in the dark night. Patience and perseverance. The situation of the yogi, the use of myth to accompany our investigation into the dark night of the soul, the spiritual dimension of psychology. What we believe about the purpose and nature of suffering will make a big difference to how we endure the dark night. A map of the dark night of the soul, how this new meaning, new philosophy is built. Examples of the dark night of the soul, and quite a lot on the dark night of the soul, because that's when we go into the initial depression, when we have a spiritual or egoic implosion, when we just can't take life anymore. The body has to shut down, and it goes into the deepest of depressions or isolation. Well, I went through that for 7 years, people. And some of you would have gone through very traumatic periods in your lives and experienced some of those things. The universe doesn't need a purpose, so why should we? The scourge of boredom and loneliness. The path to spiritual awakening begins, discovering that unadulterated heavenly bliss does exist. The power of letting go. The night 2 angels visited me, putting the psychological pieces together. How I fell down the rabbit hole. Plato's allegory of the cave. What does the allegory of the cave mean? The night I went to hell for 18 hours. 666. It's fucking great stories, people. Really fantastic life experiences. Are we really all one? Is there any reality in the above heading? Let us investigate. Is the dream world a real place? The law of attraction is put to the test. The law of attraction is massive. I speak about many instances in this book where I put it to the test and proved it to be true. The incredible powers of the mind. Dicing with death one last time. I've had 4 near-death experiences. Meditation and the mystical bliss of a still mind. The day my meditation cherry-popped. How meditation is the portal into ourselves. The benefit of regular meditation practice. Chapter 9. The day Jehovah kicked my ass. God speaks to us in many ways, and entheogens are one of them. Entheogens, enthusiasm, and God are the same thing. Enthusiasm comes out the root word entheogen, or entheogen comes out the root word entheogen, or enthusiasm. Entheu means within, God within. How can we know if God is within us? The time Jesus showed me what unconditional love felt like. An encounter with Jesus, how many of you have had that? How many of you have had an encounter with God? How many of you have an encounter with the angels? Do you want to learn what that's all about? Then about 6 months after the Jehovah encounter, Jesus came. What's love got to do with it? What is love? There must be something that I was missing. Why are there these profound differences in love? The differences between Jesus' love and the difference between Jehovah's love. It's absolutely chalk and cheese. It's worlds apart, people. And I discussed that in great detail. Having felt both of them and know exactly what they feel like, and then relating that to the Bible, and then you can see exactly what's going on. Varieties of religious experience. Still searching for the ever-elusive love. When love doesn't live up to our expectations. Is real love a chemical which can be found in a psychedelic, aka entheogen? Many varying alternate states of consciousness. When we begin seeing God in everything. It struck me profoundly that I was living in a very different world from that which I was born into. How a shift in perspective changes our worldview. Experiencing cosmic love through physical exercise. Waking up changed everything. Being very physically fit takes us closer to God. Entities within consciousness. Chapter 11. Sojourns into the astral planes. The old hag syndrome and the succubus. Falling in love with astral girls. When a black panther turned into an Egyptian queen. Astral gremlins, astral cats. Being fondled by an unspecified astral entity. Being a patient in the Bedlam Asylum. When I was out in the astral, I went to what I considered to have been the most notorious mental institution in Great Britain, which is called Bethlehem Asylum, colloquially known as Bedlam. And I was being pushed around those very, very sinister, dark, dank, cold corridors by the most ugly matron that you can ever imagine. It was very, very bizarre and so very real. The end of my astral travels, then. Lucid dreaming, accepting the paranormal. Chapter 12, how psychedelics, aka entheogens, changed my worldview. Wow. You're getting the picture, people. There's just so many. I'll just read one more page, and if you're not convinced by that, you never will be. And so just continue to skip across the surface of YouTube like a water boatman creature on a pond. You'll never get any height of your knowledge, you'll never get any depth of your knowledge. You'll only ever have surface, superficial rubbish that doesn't mean anything to anybody. You've got to go deeper, people. The first significant introduction to the mystical world of entheogens. Experiencing a soul in purgatory. So I'll speak about all the different experiences that I've had, meeting very sinister energies, entities on some occasions, and beautiful godlike ones on others. It's all out there, people. Spirits, this place is full of spirits. Everything is about spirits. Chapter 13, how our unconscious will guides us towards the purity of God. The benefits of belief, having wholehearted belief in our human existence, bonds our ego fast to its earthly excursion. When we evolve as spiritual beings, when spirit intervenes to save our souls, the greatest asset and spirit affords us, defining the numinous of the spiritual, is no easy task. How our conscious will guides us towards the purity of God. How to know God. Now, when I'm speaking about God, I'm speaking about yourself, people. We're God. Consciousness is God. Cosmic consciousness is God. I'm not talking about Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, none of those. So don't be thinking that this book is in any shape or form religious. It's not. It's spiritual. A shift in perception is the central vein of spiritually awakening, the height of human evolution. Not only how to know God, but discovering that we are God. Why does God make it so difficult for us to enter his kingdom? The power of giving penance or confession. I go through the whole thing about what is confession. How do we actually do it? What does that mean? What does that bring? Then I ask, what is forgiveness? Then I ask, what is judgment? I look psychoanalytically at all these things. How synchronicity plays its hand, and why it is so important to be aware of its potential. Synchronicity is a massive big deal to people. That one line, synchronicity, is a massive big deal. And those of you that have them, you know what I'm speaking about. The power of meaningful coincidences. How the book of Zen Buddhism found its way to me in a miraculous, enchanting, synchronistic manner. The benefits of believing in God. Some people consider there's great benefits of believing in God, and for some there is, because it fulfills their delusionary desires. Chapter 15, investigating the supernatural, divine revelation versus various other paranormal theories. What is the difference between elusive and elusive? Who the fuck is God anyway? Who the fuck is consciousness? Sorry, what the fuck is consciousness anyway? Where do we look for truth? Let me illustrate what my issue is with finding truth in language. Where is the human essence? Disturbing as it may be for some, this whole construct is premised on faith. Everything is a giant leap of faith, people, because there's no reality, there's no truth, there's no physical, corporeal matter. René Descartes' meditations on first philosophy. Our whole lives are one giant leap of faith. There is only God. Everything is you, and it's all beautiful. What did I conclude about how others saw God from my investigation into faith? The other side of faith, embracing faith as an experiment. What prevents us from entering God's kingdom? Religions are the world's first self-help books premised on human psychology. Being born again with DMT. Heaven is a state of mind, the psychology of experiencing God. Religious scriptures are the world's first attempts at cognitive behavioral therapy. The kingdom of God is within you all. Heaven and hell, right thinking and wrong thinking. Right brain, left brain. How faith works its magic. Self-hypnosis, creating our reality via our thoughts and intentions. Chapter 16. There's 26 chapters in this book, people. To judge or not to judge, that is the question. What is judgment? What happens when we judge? How do we feel? How do other people feel? What happens? What manifests? The Akashic records are said to be, here is a list, several well-discussed points on possible contention and explanation concerning what Jesus said and was misunderstood as saying. So I'll speak about lots of Jesus' sayings and what they mean to us, and how we use this knowledge. How my epiphany on judgment came about. How I realised some very deep, profound insights into judgment. There are two sides to every coin. It all simmers down to perspective at the end of the day. Being judgmental, premised on our own delusions of separateness. How do we break free from our self-imposed tyranny and create heaven within? Letting go of things that we know do not serve us. attracting gremlin energy forms via our production of dark energy. Now, I'm talking about gremlin energy forms as spirits, people, as wayward freelance spirits, which if you get into a certain vibration, a certain dullness through drugs and bad diet and no exercise and depression, then you are a free-for-all for negative energy forms, and they will enter you because that's what they thrive on. They thrive on your drug taking, they thrive on your bad diet, they thrive on your bad thoughts, and they're doing everything, living vicariously through you to experience what they are as spirits, as negative energies. And if you've got a feeding ground for negative energies within you, then you're going to be attracting them. So I speak about how you extricate those, how you expel them, how you evict them, and then how you invite the positive ones in. I go through this in the greatest of detail, people. So those of you who are suffering from negative energies, negative thoughts, thought forms are energy, people. Thought forms are entities, trust me. Evil, light over darkness, the slaying of the beast. I speak about slaying of the beast. Could be Satan, could be a demon. When I was incarcerated in, this prison with very, very negative energies all around me, the most serious of negative, dull people that you can ever imagine, covered with the whole shaved heads with tattoos and all on their faces. Now, can you imagine people being in the vicinity of these people, exceedingly dangerous, troubled people from birth, never had any parenting, were drug addicts from the age of 6 or 7, committed atrocious crimes. I was sleeping with them above me or below me. I was eating at a table with them. I was showering with them. I was living with them. Chapter 17, is the world, universe, cosmos perfect? The miracle of waking up. I ask, is the world or cosmos perfect? Because whilst taking DMT, it told me that it was. And I worked out through my logical, rational mind that it actually is. And if you want to know why that is, then it's in here. Humanity must be profoundly disappointed with the cosmic creator. Is God an amateur at the creation game? You would think so from reading the Old Testament. The DMT, dimethyltryptamine, God told me that the world is perfect. Is God a chemical produced in our brain? Putting the pieces together. So is the world perfect, or is it just a perspective that some of us more fortunate and adventurous people have? Heaven and hell are simply states of mind. What we put into our minds is what we can expect to get out. Left brain, right brain, heaven and hell. The divine peace of God vacates our minds and hearts when we invite in disruptive negative energy forms. If you completely purify yourself, if you empty your mind and purify your body, then you are in the natural state of the divinity. And then that's when you will know that God is you and God is within you. But as soon as you start to poison yourself with your mind and your body, then you'll feel that beautiful blissness leave. That's when God metaphorically leaves you, because you've allowed too many negative energies and demonic forces within you, and so that beautiful bliss is taken away. So unless you are feeling beautiful bliss, then you possess demons, people. You've got demonic energies within you. And of course, within modern societies, demons are all around. They're feeding on your negative energy. That's what they love. It's called loosh. If you look into that, it's actually a real thing. When the carnal essence metaphorically dies and only the spiritual remains. When the flesh dies, when you are on the cross. This is the whole thing about Jesus being on the cross. When the flesh dies and the spirit is born, the spirit leaves the body and it is free again, you see. So we have to carry our own cross. We have to crucify our own selves, you see. If you read deep Christian literature, you'll discover, what is being said in the Bible, what things mean. And it's all metaphor, people. And so what we have to do, we have to crucify ourselves effectively. We have to purify ourselves. We have to kill the carnal flesh. It doesn't desire, it doesn't want, it doesn't grab, it doesn't hate, it doesn't do all these things. It's just pure in its bliss. Like a Buddhist monk, I suppose. From caterpillar to butterfly, the spiritual metamorphosis. I speak about that, how I was a caterpillar, then I went into being a chrysalis, and then I came out a butterfly. Some of you were thinking, what the fuck, if that's a butterfly, I'm fucking... You see, people, what you see, what I deliver to you is a fraction of what I am. If you read this book, then you'll have a vastly deeper understanding and understanding of the spirits within me. The esoteric versus the exoteric. The exoteric that's everything that's all around and everyone knows it. The esoteric is stuff that only the scholars will get to study, you know, like secret societies and things like that. Communicating with the supernatural cosmos via our sixth sense. You see, that's how we communicate with God, people, via our sixth sense, via our intuition. That's the only way we can communicate with God. We can't communicate with God via the ego. The crucifixion is symbolic of the death of the soul, the ego. The four horsemen. Here I invert those four concepts to see what manifests. Chapter 19. Embracing the emptiness, the process of letting go of ourselves, the fine art of narrowing down our point of focus so we can concentrate on the spiritual facet of existence. Self-love, what is it that we seek? Freedom through our empty minds. What significance are the phantoms of my past to me now? Why should we hold on to memories, you see, people? There are very few accurate recordings of memories, so what do we have to lose? They're all a fiction, they're all a fabrication, they're all erroneous. Barely a single one of our memories is correct, people. They're all fiction. Energy vampires and attachment, kicking the dog syndrome, vampiric energy forms that drain our life force, energy vampires, true or false, how to kill, erase, eradicate negative thought forms, the psychology of mind, the power of understanding how our thoughts work, cleaning the ground upon which to build our mansion. Good God, this is why I call this the spiritual Bible. What isn't there in here? You tell me what isn't there in here. You tell me a subject that I've not covered so far, and I've not even finished. The very narrow path, heaven's gate, the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, the creation of Homo sapiens. The current manipulated version of the Bible is a highly contentious and malevolent compilation of lies and contrivances designed to imprison the human mind and spirit. The Garden of Eden allegory. Was Moses on drugs when he saw his legendary burning bush? The biblical tabernacles were for secret entheogen use by the elite priests. Fact, people, fact. They were all on drugs. If you look in through history, they were all on drugs. All these secret societies, of course they were on drugs. They could see into other dimensions and experience different things. That's what gave them the power. And that's why this priest knowledge was so seriously guarded. And you know, even today, supposedly, when you join the Masons, you join and you have to vow that you will never discuss any of the secrets to the layperson, because if you do, then you will die. They will kill you. They will asphyxiate you and cut out your tongue. My very own fantastical experience while smoking cannabis. Oh, I've had so many incredible experiences, supernatural people. What can we make of all these individuated conscious experiences? How others have explained the supernatural connection over the years. Well, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God. We may as well do it. We may as well do it. Yeah, I need a rest, but you know, I won't make this variety of video again, and so for those of you that you know, want to see what's towards the end, some of you might be saying, fucking hell, don't stop now, Aaron, we want to get to the end. Okay. The Tao Te Ching. I speak about the whole Tao Te Ching and what that means. Reputedly the most important spiritual text on the planet. The inexpressible mind of God. We're all being dreamed in the mind of God, or should I say, we are all dreaming ourselves into a fictitious reality. State propaganda and cultural indoctrinations are our greatest preventatives of spiritually awakening. They want to keep us dull, they want to keep us down, they want to keep us stressed, they want to keep us closed-minded, they want to keep our attention honed in to our phones and whatever they're telling us. It's a spiritual battle, people. How Mother Nature, Spirit God, Cosmic Consciousness communicates with us. Waking up to our cosmic womb. Spiritual awakening seems to be the cosmic endgame for human beings. The God particle for dummies. Jewish Kabbalah. Union with God. The portal into the mind of God. Heaven, Nirvana, bliss. The Book of Thomas. Jesus' sayings that not included in the Bible. Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas. Know thyself. Kabbalistic holy sparks entering the bliss, heaven, in the natural world with our open eyes. Scattered sparks, our subjective interpretation is the only one we can truly ever trust. We can only trust our own subjective experience, people. We can't trust anything that anybody else ever tells us. And invariably we can't even trust our own perception because most of it is illusory. Egoic dissociation, spiritual association. What are the altered states of consciousness? When our ego momentarily disappears. When our ego disappears, people, you are in heaven. Your mind is absolutely pure. You don't have a single thought and you are filled with bliss. That's when the ego goes offline. Ego death. The illusion of being human as opposed to the reality of being God. An ongoing thorough scientific and philosophical investigation is what the world needs. Is there a ghost writer authoring this book? I ask, is there a ghost writer? Because I never felt as if I was writing it, Spirit was writing it. And this is what many writers say. They get into a zone and it's not like they are writing, it's automatic writing, it's just happening through us, people. And this is what Madame Blavatsky said she wrote her books about. Madame Blavatsky wrote this book. And this book, this is a double volume, and so is The Secret Doctrine. So she wrote 4 huge books like this, and I don't know whether she wrote any more. But she speaks about all these spiritual things, all the religions and spirituality, everything that you can imagine, mythology and all different sorts of stuff. Because all religions stem from mythology, people. They all stem from human consciousness. They all stem from our struggle with discovering what we are and what this is all about. But we only have our own consciousness to be able to do that with, and it doesn't appear to be enough, does it? I speak about egregores. I speak about Adolf Hitler. I speak about how energy feeds on us. I speak about the Rosicrucian perspective. I speak about the theosophical viewpoint. I speak about morphic resonance. I speak about how I think I've found some of the answers through my own personal experience, conjoined with reading this enormous amount of information for the past 15 years. We're getting there, people. Chapter 23. All is one. The paradoxical cosmos. Jung's collective unconscious. Then I go into Jung's work and I speak about the great importance of archetypes and the anima and animus and the introvert and the extrovert and the shadow and, you know, all Jungian perspectives. Edgar Cayce, the Akashic Records. Then I speak about how I began to head towards the bliss. I speak about being in the abyss, being in the absolute nothingness, being lost. And some of you will remember some of my videos. I'm really struggling at a certain point in my life to find meaning, to find reality. I was just lost in the abyss. And so How the collective unconscious and archetypes play critical subliminal roles in our lives. We all have archetypes working through us, people. We're a collection of spirits, souls and archetypes. The collective unconscious and archetypes. Jung's model of the psyche. Personal unconscious, collective unconscious, the persona, the anima and animus, the shadow, the self, psychological types, individuation, theory of the libido, Freud versus Jung, unconscious mind, human motivation, psychosexual stages, dream analysis, religion and spirituality, bringing varying fields of study together for analysis, amalgamating out-of-body experience with archetypes. How can we know for ourselves that the Akashic records exist? I can tell you how we know that. How we have, at the very least, 53 senses. 53 senses. If you go online and ask how many senses do we have, then the first thing you'll come to is like we have 5 senses. And the 6th sense may be intuition. When in actual fact, if you go further, then you will start reading things like there are 53 senses. And then you can see all the varying senses that you have. And you'll wake the fuck up, people. You'll wake the fuck up. Mental states, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, from Freud to the brain to Sheldrake and morphogenetic fields. Morphic resonance is an incredible, amazing hypothesis, and I speak about that in fine detail in here, and I've also made many videos about that. Is consciousness a simulation? The simulation hypothesis. Reasons for the simulation theory to be the most viable option to wear the cosmic creation crown. In my estimation, the simulation hypothesis is likely to be the one that is actually happening here, for many, very varying reasons. But that still doesn't detract from the fact that we are God, because if, for instance, you have a computer and the computer is delivering all these different sorts of things, then if you are a facet of the computer, if you are in the computer, then your God is the computer, isn't it? So whatever generates your life and your experience, that's God. And so if it's a simulation, then the simulation is God. My reasoning on the likelihood that we are in a simulation. It's simply too complex to comprehend. We are in a simulation, that's why we cannot find physical matter. You see, in a simulation, there's no physical matter, is there? There's only a simulated reality. I will first eliminate one of the most obvious runners-up from the competition, Darwin's theory of evolution. So I'll speak about the veracity of Darwin's theory of evolution. Then I speak about a Christian and Islamic God. Then I'm speaking about the ancient astronauts theory with the Anunnaki and Nephilim and all different sorts of things like that. I'm speaking about the Big Bang. Is Big Bang a feasible thing to consider where we came from? Science, is evolution, is it the simulation, is it God? What is it? Is it some variant of philosophy? Read these things and then you'll start to think about some of these things. Is the Mandela effect evidence of the simulation? The psychology behind the Mandela effect? Parallel universes or glitches in the matrix? The devil's in the details? The familiarity heuristic? The battle of wits? Closer to God. I'm getting closer to God. I'm finding God, people. The illusion of having our own minds. A glimpse beyond. A glimpse beyond, people. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. Brahman. What is Brahman? Brahman is everything, people, and so it's just a vantage of Eastern philosophy. We need to compare varying philosophies. We have Western philosophy, we have Eastern philosophy, and all in between. We've got the Islamic faith, we've got Judaic faith, we've got the Christian faith, we've got a whole myriad of Christian variants, we've got a whole myriad of Hindu gods and belief systems and all that. We've got African, we've got Indonesian. There's over 4,000 religions on the planet, people. And so if you are one of these misguided people that have bought into Christ is the King and Saviour and Lord and God, well, you might want to read 3,999 of the other religions before you go to your grave on that one. Wow. What is Brahman? Etymology and early formulations of Brahman. The Vedas, Upanishads. We are souls being written upon by the pervasive cosmic intelligence. So I conclude what I've learned through my journey in the final chapter. And so there you have it, people. Quite a long video with an enormous amount of information. And of course, the information I'm speaking about is the tip of the iceberg from all that which I have mentioned. And in this book, there's 15 years of my personal development, my acquisition of knowledge, and the experiences and all that. And so I expect this book to be a world bestseller one day, when people start to learn about it. If anybody, start to promote it, because outside of this small portal, I don't have the initiative to do that. The universe will have to take control of that. That's beyond my remit. Guys and girls. So finally, I will just mention then again, these books, if you really want to know thyself, then you really do have to be reading these things. And I've got 200 pages left of this one, and then I've done this double volume. It's been very, very useful. And then one of the viewers, thank you very much, recommended this book to me, and I started on it a couple of days ago, and it's got a whole list of stuff, much of which I've written about in my book. And the person that recommended this book to me says that, Aaron, you might be interested in this book because this guy speaks about many of the things that you speak about. And he was very, very correct. And there's just a massive amount of things, what it is to be a human being, human psychology, spirituality, the metaphysics of being a human being, the ontology of being a human being, the mythology, all that different sorts of stuff. It's being a human being is an amazing, fascinating experience, and I've loved every second of it, every single second of it, people. It's like when people say there's no such thing as bad trips. There's no such thing as bad trips, people, if you're an awoken, enlightened being, because you realise that none of it is real as we think it is. It's just an opportunity for us to grow ultimately, and finally, when we leave this environment and we go on to wherever we go on to, and we become whatever we become, or we go back to wherever we came from and become whatever we were, whatever it is, whatever happens, it's many very intelligent people's perspective that consciousness doesn't die. It can't die. It can't die because it doesnn't live. Life is a fiction. There is, in natural fact, nothing really living here. Because if there was something living here, then scientists would have been able to find the matter, but they can't find the matter. They can only find energy and vibration and consciousness, you see. So what's energy, vibration and consciousness? That's a dream, isn't it? That's what happens in our brains. Something is dreaming. We're in the mind of God, people. We're in the mind of God. We're being dreamt by God himself, ourselves. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that incredible? Huh. So for any of you, some of you, you'll say, I'm a long-term viewer, I'm going to buy your book, or I love your videos. Well, I beseech you all now, just to come out from under your stones, out on your shells, and just be a little bit more vocal, and just put now and again something down that you like about my videos. Give me a little bit of something. Give me a little bit of encouragement, people. Because at the end of the day, I'm doing this for your personal evolution. You know, that's my job. I'm doing it for your personal evolution. And if you think that I'm doing this to sell my book, well, look, the chances really, in real terms, of me selling any amount of books which is ever going to change my life is very, very slim. When Google tells us, and book publishing companies tell us that 99% of books published won't sell any more than 250 copies. Unless you massively promote them, unless you're someone who's out there and already world renowned, then of course you're going to sell millions. Or unless you get lucky. You know, like one occasion where President Clinton was walking, with a book in his hand, and he was photographed by the media. They wanted to know what he was reading, and he was just reading this fantasy mythological story. It became a world's bestseller overnight because the president was reading it. And I read it, and it's all right. It passed a few hours, but what did I glean from it? You know, nothing that I didn't already know. If a layperson read it, then they might think, oh, that's a deep book. Oh, that's a spiritual book. Oh, that's very profound. That is. It's not. It's very, very basic. And that's probably one of the reasons why it sold so much, because of how basic and easy to comprehend it was. But anyway, people, I've spoken enough. So we'll just press forward, shall we?